No matter where you are in the world, you will always find that the celebration of birthdays can be found in various forms, connecting us all to the ancient act of honoring one another each year. From the ancient Egyptians celebrating the births of their gods to the German kinderfest that inspired modern-day American celebrations, birthdays represent making it through another year alive. But for others, birthdays can be a reminder of something lost, someone gone who cannot be replaced. For twinless twins, birthdays represent something more, the life that should have been. This week, we are going to talk about the origins of birthdays and then introduce the vanished twin theory and how it connects to one of our hosts. Welcome to Who Are You? Curious Stories of Family Lore. I'm Wheatsy.
And I'm Sam Ivy.
And I believe this number of this episode to be, in fact, episode number 37.
Okay.
I just looked on our Spotify. So yes, this is episode 37 coming to you on the 14th of June, a Sunday at midnight, which is our original time. And I found that we've circled all throughout the week and landed right back where we started, being the best time to upload. So, there's just something about uploading at midnight on Sunday. So really it's technically Monday, but then it's like you wake up and it's already there. So
yeah, no, 100%. And I feel like it works better for our schedules because, like, at the end of the day, like, we love doing this, and this is such a fun hobby and project for us to do together. But we also, work full time, have families, have lives that we also life happens. So trying to figure out that balance. I mean, thank you, fam, for bearing with us while we trial and errored.
Yeah. That's why we changed the like description to just be weekly episodes instead of episodes every this day, because it's subject to change randomly. But I think I don't know that it will from Sunday. So yeah, life has been a little bit crazy recently. And when I say a little bit, I mean, I'm a public school teacher, an art teacher. I teach middle school and high school. And so I'm in this situation where our school year goes until the 26th, but, high school ends on Tuesday, but I still teach middle school until the 26th. So, and I'm an art teacher, so I can't pack up my classroom, can't do anything because I still have to do projects with the middle school. But every other art teacher who doesn't teach middle school, because there's only every other teacher who doesn't split high school and middle school, their classrooms are all packed up. They're like going to spend the next couple of weeks just cruising.
Yeah, you get to spend your first couple weeks cleaning out.
And still having students there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still going to have
That's
these
crazy.
kids. So we're making board games from scratch. They have to come up with the rules. They're using they're making miniature clay sculptures for their game pieces.
That's smart. That's cool.
I'm teaching them card design. And then we're going to have a couple days towards the end when I know they're going to be crazy, where we're going to be having a gaming competition of all the homemade games. And then they'll get candy and stuff to celebrate the end of the year. And yeah, so it's been crazy. But speaking of celebrating, that kind of leads us into our topic today. And it's a little bit all over the place because, again, life has been crazy. We didn't want you guys to not have an episode this week. And we thought we'd tie it into what's going on and also the Gemini season and family lore of ours. So it's kind of everything all at one, but all in one. But it's kind of a reprieve from last week because last week Sam got into
We got a little twisted. Last week. So it's time to do a little lightheartedness. Summer's finally kicking, sun is out, depression season can finally start wearing away a little bit. It's time to talk about some happy times, some good times.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with talking about the origins of birthdays. And I think it's really honestly fascinating. I think it's the concept of, and not just with birthdays, but I think it's so interesting that, and we've talked about this before, that things across multiple cultures and time and space are parallels. Like there are similarities among different cultures that maybe have had never communicated or had contact with one another during the time these practices were happening, like ancient cultures. Um, and you can see that, like, that's evident in art, cave paintings from all across the world. You know, the same kind of representations happening at the same time the human brain is developing. Oh, if I put a handprint on here, that represents my mark that I was here, all the way to drawing your hunts. At the same time, these cultures are developing, thinking, I'm going to draw what I see, and I'm going to make my mark that I'm here. And then you also have like funerals, right? Celebrating the life that was lost, the honoring of that, you know, funeral celebrations we could talk about across cultures. The idea of something leaving us is sad, and we long to hold on. And I think that birthday celebrations are the yin to the yang of funeral celebrations. So it keeps us hopeful and it keeps
Yeah.
us grateful that we're here for
No,
another
definitely.
year.
It does like it does that balance, you know, and I think it's wild to me, like human nature, our natural instinct is to document or mark time some way, somehow. Whether it is in a cave painting or whether it is, you know, just leaving a building in a place or some iconic stamp of this marks a time and place even before they had paper documentation and a way of keeping filing of things.
No, but that honestly, it's true. And this episode's gonna be we're gonna be a little loose, like just kind of. I'm gonna edit some stuff out, but it's gonna reflect our state of mind for sure. I think. I have all these tabs open. Here we go. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the yin to the yang of funerals, birthdays, and oh, this is the wrong note section. I have multiple sections. Here we go. All right. So I found a really awesome article on the farmersalmanac.com, and I'll share this article. It summarizes everything that I found in other places. And this article is titled The History of Birthdays, Why We Have Cake, Candles, and Happy Birthday to You. And this does a good summary, but I'm not going to start with that one. I'm going to talk a little bit about um, some of the notes I took from a variety of sources, and then I'm going to dig into that article a little bit. So birthday celebrations can be traced, I mean, back through ancient cultures, but really the first discovery, the oldest discovery of some sort of birthday celebration goes back to where, can you guess? Oh, fuck, I already said the intro. So you already know. Shit.
Honestly, I do not remember from the intro, but that sounds
Good.
really bad.
So
But
no, that's all right. I'm glad. What culture do you think maybe started birthday celebrations?
like the Aztecs?
That's a fucking good guess. It's wrong, but that's a good guess.
I mean,
It's a good guess.
thanks,
It
thanks.
starts with an A and then an E. All the listeners right now are like, Egypt!
Yeah, that's what I said, ancient Egyptians.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you say that?
Right after you said it starts with an A and an E.
Oh, I don't think the mic picked it up.
Oh, my bad.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it registered. But yeah, you're right. Ancient Egypt. Um, that's the first recorded discovery. And basically, they were honoring their pharaohs. So it wasn't
Mhm.
really birthdays in the sense of like, oh, this baby was just born, we're going to celebrate this day. It was actually when the pharaoh became the pharaoh, they were considering that the day they were being born as a god because they saw their pharaohs as an extension of their gods.
Yeah.
God spoke through them. So essentially they were a divine being. And so that became their birthday but it was really the celebration of them becoming a pharaoh. And
Well,
um
it's kinda like the equivalency of, like, baptism, you know? Like, people have birthdays, but then you got your baptism day. So, like, that's a very important date for some cultures.
yeah, and religion, dating,
Yeah.
like there's this tie, right? And we're going to see this throughout, that there's some sort of tie to divinity with the birthday. There was always this idea of, if you celebrate this, you're closer to ascension. You're closer to your God. Like there's a symbolism. Um, for for example, in ancient Greece, they celebrated the birth of Artemis, the moon god, and they would make moon-shaped honey cakes to celebrate. And this was usually reserved for like they were celebrating the birthdays of their gods and goddesses, not the births of their people. So the birthdays, like when you turn 10, no one gave a shit. Like you're not a god. You didn't get a birthday. But on the day of Artemis, the moon god's birth, she's going to get honey cakes. And then they began um, putting candles in those honey cakes,
Yeah.
like a single candle. And so some sources say the origin of birthday cake candles comes from ancient Greece, but others say that there's some
It's just
dispute between that.
it's all a sign of just, giving. It's like and sacrifice. It is a tribute to those. And that's how, like, back
Yeah.
in the day, like, growing when you lived back then, like, you thought, you had the sun god, the earth god, all these things, and if you didn't worship them and give them these things, you weren't gonna have a good harvest. You were gonna have a bad winter, things like that. So, like,
Yep.
I see.
Yep. Um and ancient Rome, this one was my least favorite, but that's okay. That's not about me. Uh but ancient Rome, they originally only celebrated significant milestones in age, and the celebrations were reserved for men. So, like when a man turned 25, because that's like a quarter century, birthday. When a man turned 50, quarter century, birthday. There's no, like where I found in ancient Greece, they had like the honey cakes, the moon shaped honey cakes. With ancient Rome, all I could really find was like bread and baked goods, but there was no reference of like a cake or anything like that that I could see. Just
Well, it
kind of
makes sense
like
with, like, the culture and what was around at the time. Greece was more of, like, the brainy, the artsy, like, had like, honey was a huge thing in Greece and still is. So, like, that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. And then the one that kind of connects to my family lore is and I say this because my dad's family always thought they were German. And so a lot of our like subconscious practices mimic the German culture. A lot of our like family meals, like I almost said kielbasa, but that's Polish. Um, but German sausage, what is it? Currywurst was a big dish. Um, and I don't actually like sauerkraut, I think as well. Like there's like little things that I found out growing up that they were rooted in German culture. Like we've always said Dankeschön and Bitteschön or Danke bitte. Like that was thank you, you're welcome. Like I didn't ever realize, like it just never dawned on me that hello, that's the German language. Like we're speaking
That's
German.
crazy. That's
Yeah, my
wild.
dad. Yep, yep. Um So this one, 18th century Germany, and this one I kind of deep like looked more into, and it led me to other places. And that's just because I was like, holy crap, like this is cool to learn. Basically, I like learning things. So the modern children's birthday party, which I said American birthday party because I don't know the specifics of how other countries today celebrate birthdays. So it would actually be super cool if we started a discussion on social media or even commenting wherever you're listening to this podcast. It would mean a lot to us if you commented and talked about briefly a birthday celebration. And then next episode, we could perhaps share some of those. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
So
I
if
would
you
love to
guys,
know different cultures, especially because we have so many viewers from so many different areas that, like, I would love to know
Mhm.
because, don't have the funds to travel right now. Hopefully will one day. So let me live vicariously through you guys. Come on.
Yeah. And it'd be really, really cool. If there's something unique that you guys do, just drop it in the comments, send us a message. You can post the comment anywhere. You can post it even in a review, which reviews, some of you have been reviewing us. Thank you. We appreciate that. That's helping us get noticed, by the way. So the more that you guys can interact with our content and and leave reviews, whatever the case is, that's helping us get noticed, and we are getting noticed. So it really is cool. So we're trying to do something new. And I also, like
We're
I
the
said,
fam.
yeah, I like to learn, and we want to learn about you guys and where you come from and some awesome, cool traditions that maybe you would share with us and we can share with the rest of the fam. So, um, in 18th century Germany, they called this birthday party, and it was mostly for children. So once you got to a certain age, it kind of phased out because it was more reserved for the younger, because it was called kinderfest. Kinderfest, which essentially means kid party. Um, Children were given a cake with candles and representing each year that they've been alive. They had gifts and they celebrated. So the gifts are a unique part of each celebration. So obviously in American culture, we get gifts. How many of us have thought of the spiritual or deeper significance of that? As a kid, I just wanted material things. I'm going to be honest. I wanted that Casper the Ghost plushie.
We all did as a kid, dude. We all were just like, "Holy shit, let me rip into these packages. What'd you get me? It's my birthday."
Hmm. Yeah. There was never, and it's okay. Like, I'm not shaming my parents, but there was never
No.
a sit down and be like, we're giving these gifts in honor of our ancestors or in honor
Mhm.
of the sun god. Like, there was no spiritual, deep rooted thing. It was just, this is what we do.
Yeah.
This is fun. Congrats. You made it
You
another
get it once a
year.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. But initially, it was believed that these gifts that were provided back through, and this is cross cultural, there's a few different references of this. Providing gifts was supposed to protect you. So, on your first birthday, the gifts that you're given are supposed to cleanse, and I think this was ancient China. Hold on. I believe this was ancient China, but don't quote me on that because I looked through a few different ones. But the idea was on your first birthday, you were given gifts, and those gifts were meant to purify your soul and forgive you for all of your sins through, like, because they believe in reincarnation. So this act of providing gifts is purifying and cleansing your soul. So those gifts might be something to help you in your journey of life, not necessarily here's a toy, but maybe here's a book that your parents can write all your memories down in, a baby book. And that way you can learn your history and where you come from and all these accomplishments you've made that make you who you are so that you can be a full person and be better than you were in your previous reincarnations. So just really beautiful stuff to set you up for a good
Super
route
deep.
around the sun, right? Yeah. And I'm a deep person. And if my parents had sat little 3-year-old me down and said, hey, these gifts represent all the love from all your ancestors and everybody who came before you, and they were things that I could keep forever, like maybe not my third birthday, let's say like probably 5. I think I could have handled this idea at 5, but I'd still want toys, obviously. But to have like one, because you're a kid, but to have like one meaningful gift, that you can carry with you, that you look at and you're like, this represents all the love of my ancestors who came before me. That's how I feel I have my grandma's mortar and pestle,
Mhm.
and I have my mom's wooden spoon and my grandma's wooden spoon, and I have my mom's apron. And these are like vessels of remembrance, and these are celebrations of their lives. And on my birthday, I exclusively use my mom's mixer, which is right here. Everything that I use has been handed down from women in my family, because something else I want to have a whole deep dive into is mitochondrial DNA and the ancient lineage it holds and how it's
Mhm.
only found in women, and how I could go off. I could, but I recommend every woman listening should trace your maternal ancestry through every wife, right? all the way back as far as you can,
Mhm.
because it's every generation you're giving up your name to
Yeah.
a man's name. So your name is so diluted that we don't even know, like,
Who
like
started, like, the
what
OG.
right, and what would our name be? So I want to deep dive more into that because there is a theory of the original mother, and I just think that would be crazy to do. Um sorry, I just got a group chat. Anyway, so I just thought, that someday we will do that because that sounds interesting. Um, so now I'm going to go back to the Farmer's Almanac because that was a summary of all the points. This kind of goes farther into it, and I think it's interesting. So, why do you think we blow out candles? That was a cool. Like I never thought about this either.
I mean, my interpretation of it, especially since you just got done talking about how, like, celebrating is a way of, like, gifting to protect you and things like that, I feel like it's a way of, like, getting rid of, like, bad spirits or, like, letting go. Like, yeah, I know we make a wish and things like that, but I feel like it's more of, like, letting go of negative energy or something along those lines and, like, starting afresh, starting anew. Fire is normally used for cleansing.
Exactly. So, Greek tradition believed that the smoke would carry up your prayers to the gods so that they could hear them while at the same time warding off evil spirits for your birthday. So yeah, cleansing you and keeping you safe, but also carrying your prayers up to the gods. What?
And that kinda flips it into why we make wishes, like, you don't supposed to tell your birthday wish or it won't come true because you're making your wish to the gods. You're sending your prayers
Exactly.
up to them.
Yeah. Yep. Um, and the other cool thing about candles, like birthday candles in ancient Greece, by the way, that's where that tradition started, blowing out the candles in ancient Greece, and that's what they believed. But also in Europe, though. So that was in ancient Greece. In Europe, they would keep the birthday candles um, burning all day, all throughout the whole day to protect the person whose birthday it was. And they were only blown out after the birthday celebration and the wishes had been made to then send, the energy of the day and the prayers and stuff up as well. So there was that continuation of the smoke.
See, that kinda makes me think of Disney Mulan, when they go to where the ancestors are and they light the incense or the smoke to awaken them and things like that, and, like, protect Mulan on this day. It's kinda like lighting the candles for your ancestors so they are there with their energy to protect you for the day and be there to celebrate, and then when they burn out, like, that's them saying goodbye until next year.
Yep. Oh my gosh. That was beautiful. Saying goodbye until next year because they'll be back. Just made me think of my mom when you said that. I knew you want to start
I thought
crying.
of my grandma, and, like, it makes me wanna start doing that now on my birthday, just lighting a candle and keeping it lit.
I for Yule this year, and I wasn't super. This was my first time attempting to practice Yule. That's why we did that episode to kind of help me learn and also help me practice because there's the 12 days of Yule, but every single day was in honor of my mom, and I lit a candle every single day, and I had a dish of butter out, and I put the candle in there, and I swear to you, when that candle was lit, there was this calmness. I don't know how to explain it. You know how when you're just sitting in a room with your mom, you can feel her there? Like she
100%. Or,
just
like, when you're freaking out and you feel like your world is crashing down and your mom just has to hold you or look at you or say, "It's okay, baby," and you get that calmness, your anxiety goes away. It's like you can fall, and so you don't have to hit the ground because they're there to catch you.
yeah, the air, like, buzzed,
And
you know
it
your
gets like a
mom.
quiet, it gets like that calm, like, I know exactly what and when the light shines in just right, like, it gets that setting, that feeling, and you know they're there.
Yeah. But even, like, when my mom was alive too, like, alive in the room with me, knowing she was there, her physical presence charged the air in a way. Sorry. It's always hard talking about my mom. Still so fresh, like losing a mom, like losing your parent like that. Um, but I just remember like being in the room with her and feeling the charge in the air. And when I lit that candle for Yule and I closed my eyes for just like a brief second, it was like she was there. Like I almost could feel that buzz. And so I have a strong belief that candles and the color of the candle and the intention that you set, it's the closest thing we can get to them because it's a
To a portal,
physical
dude.
manifestation, yeah, of our feelings, a physical portal we create with our feelings that maybe
And you
pulls them to us.
and you know why I think that we and granted, it's not the same for me with my grandma, but, like, why you feel the presence so strong the way you do, especially with your mom, is because if you think about it as a mom, every child you have, you keep a part of their DNA in your spine. So there's a part of them with you, in you always. So I feel like
Mhm.
that connection you feel with your mother and like being able that calmness, that things, that connection, that drive, that key, that one mark is the fact that there's a little bit of you always with her. So when they go, that's a little bit of you that's gone too. So when they're around, you're gonna be, if especially with you already being in tune, you're gonna be 20 times more in tune with your own energy as well.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, so that's candles, but I'm immediately thought of my mom when it talked about the candles. I was like, "Oh my gosh." And um in early Christian practices, they recognized that birthday celebrations were rooted in paganism, which spoiler alert, paganism predates Christianity. So I am fairly confident in the statement I'm about to make, but it is just an opinion. But I'm fairly confident that everything is rooted in paganism that is based in
100%.
Christianity.
100%.
I mean, they looked at what was working and they thought, hey, let's change that
Mhm.
and
Let's do an adaptation.
adapt it in a way that we fits us. And you know what? I'm not going to crap all over Christianity or those who believe in God and Jesus and the Bible. And then it's because at the end of the day, part of me believes it too. Because I believe that whatever you're practicing, it's about the feeling and
Yep,
it's about the intention. It's
yep.
not about being like
It's
sinning
not
or
about the
not sinning.
category. It's not about being
Yeah.
put in a box. It's about you believe what you need to believe, and that means that you need a physical manifestation of a man, in a white,
Uh-huh.
outfit, on a cross to be what you need to represent your spirit, your way of, releasing that energy. By all means, do it.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's allowed to do it in their own way. Every
As
story
long
is
as
the
you
same. It's just a different version of the same truth.
exactly. Yeah. And as long as you have empathy and faith and belief in whatever that is, then you're doing the right thing. As long as you're acting on universal law. That's the part. Like, I believe religion can be good for people, but I also believe that blind faith is
Mhm.
dangerous. Blind faith is used as weapons. And I know this is a birthday episode and what the freak, but this is what we do. Um, but I think it's important to talk about it because
I mean,
talking
we've
about
talked we've
how
talked about it before with other like, when we talked about cults and things like that. Like you can
Mhm.
see where they can take people's beliefs and use it as a form of manipulation for their own benefit.
Yeah.
Now, I believe everybody's allowed to believe what they want to believe and follow who you want to follow, but at the end of the day, you guys need to know who you are as a person and be able to make your own opinions as well. It's okay to
Yeah.
disagree. You do not have to follow the herd. And it might feel like the
Right.
wrong choice, but sometimes the hardest and the best choices are going to feel wrong.
Hmm. Yeah. And I just wanted to bring this up because I oftentimes have a pretty negative tone when I mention like Christianity. But I'm not talking about the good people who are Christians today, who are kind and go to church and celebrate and mind their own business and don't come knocking on my door preaching at me and shaming me for having different beliefs. There is an amazing set of religious people and from all different types of religions. For every good person, there's a bad person. So all of my spite and negativity comes from I'm thinking of the extremisms, the people who are screaming and chanting Bible verses when you're trying to sit on a train,
You're
while
talking about a select
meanwhile,
few, not the whole in general, not the whole
yes,
yeah, and I get it, and I get it
exactly.
too. Because like you said,
So
there's the good and bad in everything. It's every religion, it's every culture, it's everything, not just Christianity specifically. There's always gonna be the good with the bad.
yeah, I just have a tendency to like definitely lean pretty negatively when I'm talking about religion. And so I just wanted to clarify for everybody in case you're like, dang, she's like really anti-religious. I'm anti-control. It's different. Um, so anyways, back to the early Christians, since they considered these practices pagan in nature, they thought, every Christians generally believe you're born in sin. I remember sitting in church, and this is another reason why I'm a little bit anti going to church when you're young, because of the way that it made me feel as a kid and how it changed and shaped my self-worth in a really negative way that it wouldn't have been if I hadn't been in that environment, because this idea that I was just born and I was a sin and I had to make up for something I didn't understand, and then to find out at 20 years old that I was supposed to be a twin, which we'll get into. That's for the next version of this episode. But my deep hatred, and it's not for control, or my uncomfortableness with religion really does stem
Resentment.
to this fact. Resentment, that's the word. Thank you. My resentment comes from this idea that my whole life I was told you were born in sin and you must make up for it. And I remember that um the birthday celebration, there was always this, if we were celebrating in church, like if my pastor knew it was my birthday or whatever, and there was an announcement, it was, or for somebody else's birthday, it was always like, remember to not overindulge on your birthday. Just like warnings of like, yes, it's your birthday, but like you shouldn't be, don't practice gluttony and all these like really specific things. And I was like, I'm a kid.
It was,
I
like,
was
making you
born in
feel
sin.
bad for even having a birthday. It was like, "Okay, yeah, it's my birthday, celebrate me, but you can't do all this and make sure you don't overdo this." And it's like, "Holy crap, like, I just woke up." Like,
Right. But externally though, like my pastor was really nice. The church was amazing. I'm not going to say the name of the church because it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to say the type of church it was. Doesn't matter. Everybody was nice. And they did celebrate us. And they did, like, it's so interesting because this is how I was feeling internally, but I wasn't expressing this externally. I was just smiling and just going along with it. So there was no friction. And I don't think there was any negative intention to make me feel bad. I don't believe that. I think the intention was to try to guide me to a sin free life. And they believed they were doing it in a healthy, productive way. And I recognize that. I, however, never stopped, I guess, feeling like this wasn't the path for me.
yeah,
But
your
I
brain
felt
just
a
wasn't wired the
connection.
same.
Yeah, but I felt a connection to some sort of spirit. But my spirit didn't look like theirs, like the way that they were making it seem like it should look. And, you know, that led me to a path, and I found, that's a whole different thing. But being born in sin was early Christianity's belief. And I mean, they still believe that, obviously. At least they did when I was going to church in the denomination I was in. But you would celebrate your birthday on your saint's day, not your actual birthday. So it was called your saint's day, and you were named after a saint. And I believe this is more Catholic rooted, but it does say Christianity. So it could be,
It's
you know,
definitely Catholic rooted. My grandma, she actually, that's how she got, so her name is Shirley Ann Rose Tucker because the Rose was her Catholic name that she got attached to her name.
okay. Do you want to speak a little bit about that? Do you know more
I
about
mean,
that? Because I know nothing.
I don't know much more about that. I know, like, she was really heavy into Catholic school, and I think it was just, like, part of, like, when you graduated or something, like, you had to take or when you reached a certain point. But I think it switched up because my dad, my aunt, and my uncle all went to Catholic school. They went to Catholic school, elementary school, all the way through high school. and they didn't have anything like that. So it was more when my grandma was growing up and things to that nature. That at least I know about.
And then she would like celebrate on her like
She
was did she
she
have a separate
her mom and her family was really big in religion, so yes, like, they would when she was growing up and things like that. But even though she sent my dad and my aunt and my uncle to Catholic school, that was just what you did back in the day. It, gave them the best possibility for a future. She when I was born and raised, religion wasn't pushed so hard on me. Like, when I was born, yes, I think out of all my siblings, I'm the only one that got baptized Christian or Catholic. I got baptized Catholic. Um, we didn't go to church, it wasn't something.
Pants?
Yeah.
Pants, I didn't know this about you, Pants.
I think I'm the only one out of my siblings, like, there's pictures of it too, like, I am baptized Catholic
You're a real
technically.
life Catholic?
I can take you to my
I'm
church
just
next time
kidding.
you're down here.
Dude, that's so wild to me. I didn't know that you were baptized Catholic. I mean, this is
It's what you did when you had a kid in the '90s, man.
I was baptized Methodist, Free Methodist,
Oh,
whichever
okay.
that I still don't know what that
I just know what church we
means.
go to because I used to go with my grandmother to light candles when it was, relatives' birthdays that had passed away or like death days and stuff like that. She would always go and light a candle for them, so I'd go with her. But like other than that, religion wasn't really pushed in the family. Like we didn't do prayers before eating food. Like it was followed, and my grandmother knew like Bible verses and she knew stuff, but it wasn't something that she knew it wasn't for me. I would go to church for funerals. I would go like there were some family members that would take me to their church in the morning. And my brain doesn't function that way. I do not do good with like control and uniformity and like that. That's why I could never go into the military because there's just something in my brain that has to buck up against it, that has to do something like, and this might sound really disrespectful to those who go to church, but I was a kid that would sit there with a sketchbook and draw. And yeah, I would stand up when I had to, kneel down when I had to, but if my head was down, sketching the whole time. Like and it wasn't out of disrespect. It was more just it wasn't my way of celebrating. It wasn't my way of unlocking that part of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to be in a building. I can, unlock and
Right.
celebrate and meditate and praise my God wherever I'm at, whenever I'm at.
Yep. And I'm the same way. And I think a lot of people are like that. I like to be spiritual in private. I like to make my little altars, say my little prayers, do the things that mean something to me.
It's the
And
same with
I think
celebrating people that have passed. Like I don't like having
mhm,
like the tradition of a funeral. Yes, I get it. People need it. It's good for closure. I hate the fact
yeah.
that America has warped it into something that needs to be so sad and so morbid. It is something of celebration. You're supposed to sit there and
Mhm.
celebrate life and talk about the good times. And I don't need to be seen as disrespectful if I do not show up to the funeral because I do not need to go to where your body's at to celebrate you.
You just gave me an idea. So this is such a tangent, but yes, I agree 100% with what you just said, by the way. Um, but we still haven't had a funeral for my mom, which is crazy. She died December 18th, 2019. And we had a calling hours ceremony for her, but it was winter. And so you can't bury anybody in the winter. So she ended up being cremated, and we have not had a funeral. Like our family, I don't think people I will ever understand how broken we were after my
Oh
mom
yeah.
died. And also like I have family members, her siblings, I'm not going to say names, but I will never forget their absence at her calling hours, their lack of coming home to say one last goodbye to their sister. Holy crap, like that still eats at me. But we need to have a funeral for her. And you just gave me an idea of like doing some sort of fun dance celebration. Like,
Something that she
I
would
don't
enjoy,
know,
dude. Like, think about, like, how,
an
like,
80s
old
themed,
school, like, Louisiana, they
80s
literally
themed
used to sit there with a
dance.
casket with the body right there, pouring shots down their fucking throats and dancing around them and just
Faking
celebrating.
throats. Why does he
Faking
say it
through.
like that?
I don't know.
Throwing
But
shots down their faking throats. He's turned
but
Scottish. Let's throw this.
but
I'm not even gonna try. Anybody who's listening from Scotland would absolutely roll over in their grave if they're dead.
uh,
Then they're not listening. That was weird. Anyways,
but
fuck.
yeah, but you get what I'm saying, like, cause that's my dad, like, he said, like, when he goes, he wants to be 15 minutes late to his funeral because he's always been late to everything in his life. and he wants it to be a celebration. He wants you to fucking sit there and party and drink like he would and just talk about the good times because at the end of the day, he's dead. And that, like, there's no reason to cry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. And I respect that wholeheartedly from my dad.
Yeah. My mom always said when she was alive, like literally said this so many times, Sam, that she wanted to be put into fireworks. She wanted to be cremated and put into fireworks
Dude, you
and
can do
launched into
that.
the
You can
air.
fucking do that.
Oh my God, are we doing that? Are we
You
gonna do
can.
that? Are
You
we gonna
can.
do
I
that?
think there's like a website you can go to and actually get that shit done.
She literally said that. Oh my
You
gosh.
don't gotta
So
use all of
stand
her.
by.
Like you can use a little bit, just make that dream come true, man.
She said that to me, my dad, my brother. Like she said that
That's a
so
lot
many
better than my
times.
grandma. My grandma said she wanted to be fucking taxidermied and in the position that she always sat on the couch with her remote in her hand, so that way we
Oh
could
my
always chill with
God.
her. Yeah, yeah. That didn't happen. She was fucking bad shit. I love Shirley, but that's what she said. We cremated her. She's and she's in the ground, but
I fucked up. I fucked up. That just took me to Ed Gein's house. Oh
dude,
my
literally, that's all I could think
God.
of. And my grandma's
Oh
like,
my
I could sit there with my baseball helmet haircut. Like, you guys have
God.
no time to dust me
Absolutely not.
off. I was like, Shirley.
Absolutely not. Oh my God. Dust her off.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh my Lord.
That was
I
Shirley
didn't
for
think I
you.
was going to have a visceral reaction this episode. It's supposed to be about birthdays, and we literally ended up talking about death, funerals, funeral celebrations, putting people in fireworks, RIP mom, and now taxidermying your grandmother with a remote? Oh
Oh, yeah, she wanted her hand to
my
be, like, sitting up so we could sit the remote so we never lost it anymore.
God. She wanted to be a remote stand.
Basically, but sitting on the couch in her spot. So, like,
Oh my God. She
But this is the
is
lady that,
funny.
like, I thought she was gonna be around forever, and, like, speaking of birthdays, like, she always went 110% above and beyond for birthdays and Christmases and things like that. Like, I have pictures of me literally just buried in presents, not because I was a materialistic kid. It was we were dirt fucking poor growing up my whole life, but I never knew until getting older because she always hid it very well, and because of my situation growing up and the lack of my mom being in my life for a little bit and, being that kid had to having to go through shit since 5 years old, my grandmother and I was the only grandchild. So, I got spoiled. She did the best she could and always went above and beyond. And I'm always forever grateful for it. And honestly, my mom did too. Like I have pictures of because my birthday's in October and it's close enough to Halloween, we always did like Halloween theme parties. And that was my favorite. And like one of the parties that just iconically sticks in my
I'm so
head.
jealous about that, by the way. Sorry. I'm just so jealous that your birthday's in October. I've always wanted to be born in October.
But yeah, we did this one and I have pictures of it. I dressed up as Powerpuff Girl. I dressed up as can you guess?
Oh yeah, you were Buttercup.
No, actually.
You were Blossom then.
Yeah, I was 100%
Okay.
Blossom.
Because there's no way you were Bubbles.
But the funniest part is like the costume at the time had like this mask that you'd wear that like went over your eyes to make your eyes huge, like the Powerpuff Girl eyes.
Uh-huh.
But it was
I
so
remember.
uncomfortable. And it
I
wouldn't fit
remember
my
those
face right.
costumes.
So my mom face painted my face with just like black and white to make my and it I was sweating so bad that it all got smeared, and I looked so fucking wild, but we were at the house, so it was fine. And it was that same year, my mom's dressed up in, like, this little, like, witch costume in the kitchen, like, looks just pissed off and, like, irritated as she's making food. My dad's dressed up as Dracula, so he's in black pants, a white shirt, and he's just yellow, looks like he has jaundice. Like and you just got my little baby brother, just like little toddler, like in little onesie, and I don't know why. I mean, I think it's because I have pictures, but this birthday is just so vivid. Like it was when people that in my family that don't talk anymore came together. Like my aunt Linda, my uncle Bobby, their daughters, so my cousins Jennifer, Heather, Corey, like they would all come over and be around, and that doesn't happen anymore. But my birthday was like the one time a year where like even my great grandmother Anna, who she in the family, there's a big old drama there. Rest in peace, Anna. But before then, she would put it aside to come celebrate my birthday, whether it was at this house I'm currently living in or at my grandmother's house. Like I was a unit that brought everybody together, especially when I was younger. Granted, that doesn't happen now, but I was the first grandbaby. I was the first baby. So like everybody wanted to, put their things aside just to celebrate me and be cordial enough to be a part of that.
And I think that's another part of birthdays that we haven't really touched on is the gathering of people together, families together, putting their differences aside. I remember huge birthday celebrations when I was a kid with family members that I just assumed would be in my life forever. Like you just trust that they're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
So
you
what
see
if,
them at, like, your wedding day, you see them when you have your first kid, like, it doesn't you don't even question it. You're like, "Oh," like,
yeah, they're going to
because
be
that's how I told
around.
my grandma. It was like, "Oh, when I have my first kid, whenever that happens, I can go to her right away and ask questions. She's had 3." "No, don't got that
Yeah.
now."
Yeah. You just assume. And I think that's why birthdays are sacred, even though it's like an unspoken sacredness. Like my mom made cakes from scratch that were so fun. They were awesome. And she would spend hours. She'd go to the library before we had a computer to look up recipes. And then when we got a computer, she would print them off. Like she made my dad get a printer so she could print off recipes. Like she was so
My mom
awesome
also
at
makes homemade birthday cakes for everybody. Like,
see, it's something about moms. And that is what I want to carry on for my son. I want like this year for his fourth birthday, or this year for his birthday. I guess I get the age probably is fine to say, but I don't know. This year for his birthday, I want to make him a homemade like monster truck cake. Like I want him to be like, "Wow," you know?
dude, you should
Cuz
make one for him too that he can take his monster truck and smash. Like, make a big one that everybody can eat, and then make a small one that's like a little
oh,
dirt path for him to actually, like, be able to just
yeah,
destroy it.
that's such a good idea. Yeah. So that's why y- birthdays in America, in the United States, not all of America, because America is more than just the United States, for those of you who don't know. So in the United States, I feel like it's pretty common to have a cake, and candles, blowing out the candles, giving gifts, all these things we've talked about. Um, and then we talked about even getting family members
Yeah,
together
the
and holding on to
gatherings,
those,
yeah.
yeah, and tradition that you hold on to. And I find it really, really interesting, um, that sorry, I was trying to scroll with my notes. I find it really interesting that these cultures from all across the world and time have these unified things. Those things that we just mentioned, some sort of baked good to represent the god or goddess or the birthday, the person, the saint, whoever, adorned with a candle, one or two, blowing those candles out and the smoke release. In Mexico, their birthday tradition includes a piñata. So that's originates in Mexico. I have had a piñata for my birthday, and
Me too.
I always I always loved them, but that's a Mexican tradition. Um, and the cake that is also traditionally used for Mexican birthdays is tres leche cake, which is delicious.
Muy
Um,
delicioso.
so this is a little like chart that goes over different unique traditions for different countries. And so I thought I'd share a few of them because they're cool. They're interesting. They're different and it's good to know. So the 753. So I don't know if I'm going to say this right. Shichi Go-san Seijing Shiki. And that is the 753 celebration at 20. So they have a big celebration when they turn 20. In India, when they turn a year old, they shave their head, and that represents cleansing them from all of their previous lives and sins. Um, in China and Korea, they give babies long noodle dishes and red eggs when they're 100 days old, and doljanchi at 1, which I'm not sure what that is, but these are also ways to like cleanse and purify. And these are kind of like, they're not necessarily birthday celebrations, but they're traditions that occur on certain age markers. So, and in Jewish tradition, the bar mitzvah is at 13 for boys and 12 or 13 for girls.
You got
And
the quinceañera. Like, I know that's not
yep,
Jewish, but you got the quinceañera.
That's Latin America. So yeah. Yep. And then I guess UK sometimes calls birthday cards or gifts bumps. I'm not sure. There's no further context. But
All right, bet. Anybody from the UK, if
yeah.
you're listening, confirm or deny.
The last thing I wanted to talk about for birthday celebrations is the birthday song. Happy birthday to you. And that actually was a song written by Mildred and Patty Hill, who grew up in the progressive education movement of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, which basically wanted you to have a good education and was open to new ideas in education. Um, and it often defied the more constricting roles of women of their time. So it was like women should be educated too, is kind of what this movement was. So these two sisters wrote and published this tune in 1893, and it was called Good Morning to All. And it goes, Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, dear children. Good morning to all. So, but good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, dear children. Good morning to all. Um, and that sometime later was changed to happy birthday and reserved for celebrating. Happy birthday to you. And in 2016, that happy birthday to you was copyrighted by a federal court and ruled public domain. So nobody can copyright it when really technically Mildred and Patty Hill wrote the melody.
That's
So
some
it's not,
bullshit.
how is it public domain? I'm so anyway, Um, you can now sing it on stage, in a restaurant, and in a movie without paying a royalty. Okay, well, that's actually nice. I should stop complaining. That's nice. We like that. Um, so that is really it. And a lot of that information I just read came from the farmersalmanac.com. So now, I mean, it's already almost an hour in. That was a good discussion. I just want to end really fast because it's hard for me to separate birthday celebrations with the vanished twin theory.
Mhm.
And I do think that since we're an hour in, I don't want to say too much because this will open up a can of worms. But really quickly, I just want to say that for those of you who haven't heard of the vanished twin, that is essentially when one twin dies in the womb and gets absorbed by the other twin. And when that happens, a release of the stress hormone cortisol explodes, ricochets through every cell, tearing through the DNA structure of the surviving twin. And the cells become absorbed into the survivor and either die or, just merge in because depending on the stage of development, also depending on, if those cells are the same DNA, is this an identical twin or is this a fraternal twin? And that really depends and can change what happens to the surviving twin. And a lot of times you can go your whole life without ever knowing that you were supposed to be a twin, but subconsciously, because that little explosion that I talked about of cortisol, that stress hormone, that ultimately changes the structure of your DNA, changes the way that you express or respond to internal stimuli, meaning what is going on internally, and external stimuli, things you can't control, like the environment or other people and their responses to you. And a lot of vanished twins who don't know they're vanished twins experience across multiple cultures the same symptoms as children, the same things, the same problems with relationships, because epigenetics is a proven thing. And we've mentioned this, I feel like, many times because my thesis in college for my BFA. I did an entire altarpiece of the vanished twin, and I studied epigenetic theory and what happens in the womb when one twin dies. And so on December 18th of this year, 2026, we are going to release the vanished twin episode where we talk about my vanished twin and my mom's vanished twin and the absolute crazy way both of us found out, because neither of us knew until we were in double digit ages. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And the reason we're choosing December 18th is because that is both National Twin Day and the day that she passed away. And that fact has lived with me. It is such an eerie coincidence. And I think that that story, that's going to take about an hour, so we're not going to do it today. But I just wanted to talk about that at the end because my birthday is coming up and we're going to a birthday party tomorrow, a surprise birthday party for a friend, and it's Gemini season. So I've just been thinking about birthdays and my vanished twin and everything. And so that is really all I have. So, do you have any final thoughts for the listeners?
My final thoughts would be, like I've said, I think in previous episodes, like don't take things for granted. Birthdays, as great as they are and as encompassed as we can get with like the materialistic items of things and like what we're gaining out of it, look at the more spiritual side of what you're gaining out of it. Appreciate those people because they're not going to be around for every single birthday. Don't take anything for granted. And that being said, I'm also very intrigued over this vanishing twin thing. I know me and you have talked it previously, but like getting more in depth and getting to know more about it, I can't wait. And I hope the viewers and the fam is as excited as I am. December 18th, baby.
Yeah. And if you or you know anybody who is a vanished twin, please write in. Please share with us your story because I've heard some wild tales. And never stop asking yourself,
Who
who
are
are
you?
you?